Adele went from seeing herself one way to seeing herself in a completely different light, even a little younger. But the change that happened in her mind was even greater. If we stop to listen to her music, we can understand that she has been through many heartbreaks and a great deal of sadness, which inspired her to create great songs and taught her the maturity with which she now seems to face life. The problem is that her most popular songs came from pain, and once that pain was gone, the inspiration seemed to go with it. That led me to wonder, what happens when an artist who writes from sadness begins to be happy? Adele Blue Atkins was born in May 1988 in Tottenham, London, and her life begins with several setbacks. Her mother, Penny Atkins, is just 18 years old when she finds out she is pregnant. Being so young and becoming pregnant unplanned, her family rejects her. She is thrown out of the house, drops out of university, and moves to a shelter for single mothers. Adele's father is Welsh, without a very stable job. At first, he tries to be present, but that only lasts a few years. Over time, he moves to another city and stops seeing her. Her mother, Penny, on the other hand, carries on. She raises her alone and, although money is often tight, she manages by finding other jobs to support them. As the girl grows up, she begins to take an interest in music. Over time, her taste expands toward jazz and blues, with figures like Nina Simone and Ella Fitzgerald as references. In fact, her middle name, Blue, comes from that musical influence left by her father during the brief time he was present. When Adele is 9 years old, she and her mother move to Brixton to start over. With this change, she grows even further from her father. Years later, she recounts that during that period she felt very disappointed in him. He would promise to visit her, but many times he never showed up. Over time, she comes to understand that he had many problems, but back then, all of it left her with a wound that was hard to close. When she reaches adolescence, that love for music becomes more serious. She begins listening to jazz every night, studying those voices, learning how to breathe, how to phrase, and how to put feeling into every interpretation. Without realizing it, she begins to shape her own style purely out of enjoyment. Her mother, who notices that talent early on, encourages her to seek out spaces where she can develop it, and that push leads her to enroll in the Brit School of Performing Arts in Croydon, a specialized secondary school where talented young people prepared to pursue careers in the arts professionally. Her father's absence remains a present theme. Things worsen when her paternal grandfather passes away, which destabilizes Adele's father and causes him to turn to alcohol. From that point on, he disappears from her life completely. She recounts that during that time she traveled to where he lived to surprise him on Father's Day, but he never showed up. From that moment on, she decides never to look for him again. At school, Adele is given an assignment: record 3 songs. She writes, composes, and records 3 tracks that, without knowing it, mark the beginning of everything. Daydreamer, Hometown Glory, and My Same, names that will surely ring a bell if you already know her music. A friend uploads them to MySpace, a social network where you could share music, and there Adele's voice begins to be heard. Nobody knows who she is, but everyone feels there is something special. Her voice is powerful, her lyrics are deep and melancholic, and she connects with people immediately. While all of this is happening, her love life takes a dramatic turn. She begins to feel very deep things for a boy. Nobody knows exactly who he is, but we do know he is someone very important because her feelings for him will directly influence her first album. Her songs on MySpace reach the ears of a representative from the record label XL Recordings, who makes her an offer to sign her as an artist. Adele signs her first contract. The label prefers her debut to be a full album, which puts her in the position of having to write more material. Her original plan was to work in music production, not in her own career as a singer, so at first she finds it difficult. She has her first live television performance, where she performs Daydreamer seated with her guitar, lit by a single spotlight. A simple scene, but with a voice that leaves everyone astonished. However, the relationship with that boy comes to an end. Adele then turns to the most sincere form of expression she has, writing what she feels. With that emotional focus, she composes at least 10 songs, transforming the pain of her first love into music. The song that best represents that inspiration is Chasing Pavements. Adele recounts that the idea came after an argument with that first boy she fell in love with. She is thrown out of the place and ends up walking alone through the streets of London with a broken heart. In the middle of that aimless walk, she realizes she was following an empty pavement. The idea that pain motivates the creation of art seems to be a pattern that repeats itself in many artists. Those works are the best way to channel feelings because many of us can listen to that song and think, yes, that is me. And to understand it, one must recognize that feelings are extremely abstract entities. Trying to capture them with ordinary words is like trying to hold water in your hands. There is always something that slips away. Saying I am sad is barely a shadow of something much larger. So what does art do? When someone composes a poem, a song, or paints a picture, they are not trying to give a closed definition of what they feel. What they do is chain together images, melodies, and words that open in the receiver their own experience. A minor chord can make us feel melancholy without anyone needing to say the word sadness. Art is not a closed message. Art evokes. The full album is released under the name 19, a title representing Adele's age during its composition. Most of the songs are written by her, resulting in a soul album loaded with emotion and deeply personal lyrics. The album becomes a resounding success on the British charts, positioning her as one of the most promising artists of the moment. She signs a contract for the American market, which leads her to go on tour across North America. A performance on the show Saturday Night Live, which that night achieves its best ratings in 14 years, turns out to be the turning point. Millions of people tune in and end up discovering Adele, whose raw and gut-wrenching voice contrasts with the pop dominating the charts at the time. The following day, her album tops the digital charts. Within hours, Adele goes from being an emerging promise to a global sensation. The album 19 is certified gold and sells more than 2 million copies worldwide. Industry recognition follows quickly. At the Grammys, Adele wins Best New Artist and Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. For a young woman who never imagined dedicating herself to singing professionally, that recognition is enormous. Adele falls in love again, but this time she falls so deeply that she even cancels concerts just to be with him, putting her own career at risk. Because when Adele loves, she does not love halfway. And it is here that, in her own words, a period marked by emotional loss of control and excessive drinking begins. When she tries to write her second album from an optimistic place, the songs do not come together. While she is happily in love, the music does not arrive. But after 2 years, everything ends, and this time it leaves her shattered. Her relationship with alcohol worsens, and she enters a dark period, full of anger, loneliness, and bitterness. More inspired than ever from pain, she writes Rolling in the Deep in just 3 hours, with so much emotion that same demo ends up being the final version on the album. The song does not sound sad, it sounds broken. It is that kind of pain that is not cried, it is the kind that is screamed. The other song that defines that period is Someone Like You, the perfect opposite of Rolling in the Deep. There is no fury, no reproaches, only a soft and melancholic melody. The lyrics seem to come from that moment when one finds out that their ex has already moved on with their life and, instead of screaming, simply sings from that place where there is no more fight left, only acceptance remains. There are no grand musical arrangements, only her voice, a piano, and that emptiness that remains when something you truly wanted to work is broken. The album 21 is released and Adele presents it performing Someone Like You Live. She nearly cries on stage, and there, in front of millions of people, it becomes clear that this album is the rawest expression of everything she has lived. At the following year's Grammys, she takes home 6 awards, including Album of the Year, Song of the Year, and Record of the Year, a complete sweep. In her personal life, a new partner appears. She leaves behind the excesses of alcohol and months later announces they are expecting their first child. When the baby is born, she decides to step back a little from the spotlight to focus on her family. She collaborates with the James Bond franchise, recording the theme Skyfall, which becomes a global hit and also earns her the Oscar for Best Original Song. From the outside, everything seems perfect. However, when the world expects her next album, Adele finds herself blocked. She tries to write, but nothing convinces her. It seems that the deep sadness that always inspired her no longer dominates her life, and with it, part of the inspiration has gone too. Here it is worth pausing. Pain is not the only feeling that can motivate great works. States of intense happiness can be as well, but in Adele's case, her challenge is to adapt her art to new emotions, from a more mature perspective. The inspiration returns when sadness returns. She composes songs like Love in the Dark and When We Were Young, which are born from an internal feeling that she was not truly living, only surviving. Thanks to those feelings, her album 25 takes shape. Songs like Hello and Water, Under the Bridge become iconic. The album sells more than 3 million copies in the United States alone. Beyond the success, what is striking is that capacity to transform an internal wound into something universal, into something we all feel but cannot always put into words. In her personal life, she marries the father of her child, but the relationship does not last long and they separate. Adele takes some time for herself. Just at that moment, she receives difficult news. Her father's health is deteriorating seriously. Let us remember that since childhood, Adele lived through her father's abandonment, and the wound that left was enormous. In interviews, she went as far as saying that if she saw him again, she would spit in his face. That is how great the pain was, but this time she makes the decision to go and see him. She travels to Wales, where he lives, and after so many years, she dares to confront that past. For the first time, they manage to have a real conversation. Adele discovers that her father was funny and sensitive, someone she had never truly gotten to know. They laugh, they cry, and they understand each other. It was hard, but also one of the most important moments of her life. A few months after that visit, her father dies. Adele decides to move to Las Vegas to work with a fixed residency. She also focuses on her well-being. She stops being so caught up in social media, takes care of her health, and begins working on a new album. This project is no longer dedicated to an ex. It is for herself. A deeply personal record where she sings about her process of healing and acceptance. Her album 30 is released to the public and, like the previous ones, becomes a success. In Easy on Me, she explains that she wrote it as a way to explain to her son the reasons behind the divorce. She wanted this album to help him understand who she is and why she decided to dismantle her entire life in search of her own happiness. The song is born in a single day, starting with a verse she wrote while in the shower, and from its release it becomes a global phenomenon. After listening to her entire discography in order, one notices that her music has stopped being a cry against adversity and has become a deeper conversation with life as a whole. The songs on 30 still come from grief and fear, but now from a more conscious place. She no longer writes like someone screaming while trapped in a storm, but like someone who has learned to recognize sadness when it arrives, to sit with it, to listen to it, and then to let it go when its message has been understood. Sometime later, Adele falls in love again. Her new partner accompanies her and gives her space to be who she is. She shares that she is happier than she has ever been, something she would never have imagined years earlier. Life, which once took so much from her, has now given her the opportunity to embrace the best of herself. Adele closes her residency and announces an indefinite retirement to focus on her son and to continue growing. Although her return to the stage is uncertain, the public knows that when she comes back, she will do so with her whole heart, as she always has.